Are we getting a Sony PS Vita Slim? Is it gonna be unveiled? Perhaps. But before we get to this video, here's the question of the day. Alright, so basically Sony has teased, it's a little teaser, they posted this. You are invited to an exclusive breakfast briefing with the PlayStation. Following the biggest launch in PlayStation history, I would probably refer to the PS4 of course, join us for an introduction to the slimmest. An introduction to the slimmest. Slimmest. That's the key word right there. So basically it's speculation time. And I'm reading this article. Sony is looking to unveil some new hardware. But is it going to be a release for the PS Vita Slim in Europe and America? It probably could be. That would probably... It seems likely because it's not the PS4. As much as I would like to think that they already have a PS4 Slim version after just a few months of its release, it's like, yeah, they're not gonna do that quite yet. Might take, you know, a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Who knows, but it's not gonna be right away. Sony launched the slimmer version of the PS Vita in Japan last year, so Japan already got a smaller PS Vita. It doesn't have the OLED screen anymore though, the 5-inch one, which got good critical praise, but then they replaced it with an LCD, so it's 20% thinner and 15% lighter compared to the original PS Vita. Not a big surprise. They always have a slimmer version for some reason, you know? I just don't... It boggles the mind why they always have a slimmer version where they could have made that to begin with, you know? It's like, how come they always... Is that a planned thing now? Has that been always the case? Like, ever since the Game Boy, they got the Game Boy Pocket, you know, they got the Game Boy Color, just smaller revisions of the system, the handheld. Ever since then, you know, these handhelds have always had smaller versions, so I gotta be slimmer. The Game Boy Advance had the SP, the Game Boy Micro. You know, the same thing with the PSPs and the DS models. So they always have to have a smaller version. Whereas I think they should have made that smaller thing to begin with. You know what I mean? It's like they keep trying to make it smaller and smaller somehow. That seems to be the thing. That's... Oh, it's smaller. In my opinion, smaller doesn't necessarily mean better. As a matter of fact, you know, sometimes it could be a detriment. They take away some features of it. It has no more backward compatibility. It doesn't have this. It doesn't have that feature. You know, there's limitations. But yeah, it could be the slimmer version of the PS Vita. Not sure how well that's gonna boost the Vita sales though. Like, if that's gonna help at all, kind of expand the demographic of the Vita, because it's got a bad reputation right now. The Vita has a very bad name in terms of commercial mainstream knowledge. You know, most people are just like, yeah, Vita, yeah. There's also the possibility that Sony could be unveiling a new and improved PS3 Slim. The PS3 has seen 2 downsizing models so far, but many criticize the Super Slim, which came out last year. Was it last year or was it 2012? I think it was last year. The much smaller one, slightly smaller, and it's got a top loader instead of a disc tray, sliding disc tray. If it's another PS3 Slim, I mean, I understand where Sony's coming from, I get it, but it's kind of like, whatever. Just go with the first PS3 Slim. It's a really good system. And really, I mean, what's the problem with that? That's a great model. That's a very that's a worthy system. That's the best one I pick out of the 3 different models of the PS3. Is the first Slim model. 120 gig or whatever it was. The one with the sliding disc tray. Really nice model. Now, they also mentioned if it's gonna be the slimmest version, however, it needs to be at the top of the feet of mechanical innovation, or wizardry as they put it, so basically like tinkering around with it ergonomically, the way it works, the way it is manufactured has to be the greatest. They said that the PS2 Slim was the best for our money. It's still the most impressive display of console reduction in history. Yeah, the PS2 Slim was really nice. I have 3 of those. Yeah, because they're so tiny, they're so small. It's amazing how tiny those things are. It's so light and takes up very few space. It's such a small system. It's just so tiny. I couldn't believe how small the PS2 was. The PS2 Slim was the first time I saw it. I held it in one hand, in the palm of my hand, and it was like the lightest thing in the world. It was just so fragile and small. Yeah, it almost felt like a baby or something. Yeah, so yeah, PS2 Slim was great, definitely. That's a cool little system. I believe it, if I'm not mistaken, it was a faster, slightly faster than the original fat PS2. Just a little bit. Like as far as this Jeep, the clock speed or whatever. It really does pack a punch. Again, the PS2 Slim is not perfect. I think it had problems too. It had like overheating issues and backward compatibility problems and certain things, so there were some problems with that. But still a great little slimmer model. That's a cool model. Yeah, I don't think systems are ever going to be that small though. Maybe not so much now, but maybe in the future it would be. Like maybe 20 years from now, you can fit like a PS4 in a really tiny cube type of system, like a micro console. Because, well, I guess technology will just advance that far, but for now, it's like systems are just as big as they used to be like 10 years ago. 15 years ago, and they're heavier. They feel heavy, they feel more expensive. And here's the answer to the question of the day.